Good to go.
My name is Jennifer Nardo. I am the chair of the Conservation Commission, and we are opening tonight's public hearing. It is Thursday, October 14th, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. And as a preliminary matter, I am going to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. So going through the chair, the board commission. Allison is not here at the moment. Artie,
Yeah,
you can hear me? You can speak?
I can hear you.
Bill?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Bill?
Here.
Peter?
Here.
Steven?
Here.
Bill?
Here.
Okay, and staff, Deb?
Here.
Clay?
Here.
So we'll go through the panelists when we get to you guys. I'm hoping that everybody I can see squares of can hear us. And I think they'd start setting notes or something if they couldn't figure it out. Okay, so good evening. This open meeting of the Town of Needham Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020. Due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this board and are available on the Conservation Commission website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Meeting business ground rules, we are going to turn to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each hearing on the agenda. I will introduce the applicant and or their consultant to begin their presentation. After they conclude their presentation, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and please state your name before speaking. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Great. Okay. Agenda. Meeting minutes. None. Is that a true statement? Enforcement and violations. Are there any enforcement or violations to talk about?
Nope, not at this time.
Okay, so the first hearing, I believe, is being asked for continuance, but so it's 631 South Street, DEP file number 234872. The continued notice of intent. The applicant has asked for a continuance to our October 28th, 21 meeting. Can I have a motion to continue 631 South Street?
Move that we continue 631 South Street till October 8th,
Not October 8th.
28th.
20.
October 28th.
Thank you.
October 28th.
49. Is it 649 too? I'm sorry. There are two of them involved.
There are two, but we have to do them separately.
Okay, sorry. A second.
Okay, all in favor? Artie,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Steven,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
yeah, aye. Okay, so the 631 has been continued to October 28th. Now we have 649 South Street, DP file number 234874. This is a continued notice of intent. The applicant has requested to continue to October 28th. And I have a motion to continue 649 South Street.
Move that we continue 649 South Street till October 28th.
Can I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Artie,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Steven,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
yeah, aye. Okay, so that's continued. Okay, so next on the agenda is South Street and Dedham Ave boat access. DP does not have a DP file number. This is a notice of intent. Because it does not have a DP file number tonight, we can start this hearing, but we cannot close the hearing. So as long as the applicant understands that. So on my list here, South Street, Treasure River access, is that the Treasure River access one? Dennis Moran? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. And Jessica Roberts? Jessica, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can.
Excellent.
Great. We'll let Dennis get his stuff organized. While he's figuring that out, we did receive an email.
How about now?
Yes, I can hear you now. We received an email on October 9th from Bob Asher at 16 South Court in Needham. And he has asked that I read this. I think it's just as easy, Deb, for me to read the whole thing in because I don't know how to shorten it.
Okay.
Okay.
Whatever.
What? Yeah, I can read the whole thing in, right? Okay. So he's asked to pass the comments on to the commission and the public works. He's having surgery. I have been using the boat landing many times to take my kayaks out on the river. I think clearing a wider path will be beneficial by reducing exposure to tall grass that can be jumping off points for tips. But I do not see a need for a gravel road. I do not understand any benefit to having a concrete pad. I am also concerned about the plan for a trash barrel. Emergency for the gravel road, the emergency assistance could be helpful, but what is envisioned? Has the fire department issued a report? Can't they get a boat in the water like everyone else? Why do they need a road and a concrete pad? Won't they be driving more directly to the emergency scene, whether it is at St. Sebastian's or a new bridge or behind someone's house along the river? Won't they usually walk right in? The water isn't deep downstream of the landing. An emergency boat is unlikely to be able to go anywhere upstream from the landing where the water level is low. So maybe I should have read this in after they did their presentation, but whatever. So we want to make sure that we respond to Mr. Asher's comments along the way. Concrete pad, the river provides residents with an unparalleled escape to nature. Does the natural landscape need to be marred by a concrete pad? The water level at times is so low I cannot paddle upstream because of the rocks near the bridge. It is a little trickier getting started because the boat is sitting on the riverbed, so it gets a bit muddy. The launching off spot would be well below the concrete pad, which would serve no useful purpose. When the river is higher, it is easy enough currently to launch a boat onto the river. Again, I see no benefit to a concrete pad. For the trash barrel, I have seen deer in the woods along the river. Will the trash barrel be an animal attraction? Is it going to be serviced daily? I have seen several cars of boaters in the existing lot. The Newton Canoe and Kayak Group has launched trailer loads of kayaks from the landing. I am not aware of a need for a construction project. I would like to see a fire or police department report if there is one that explains the need. Please keep me in the loop. Okay, so hopefully along the way, we can answer some of these comments and questions. And there's probably other residents that have similar interests and concerns. So who is going to present this for the applicant?
I will. So thank you very much. Dennis Moran with Ty and Bond, and everybody can hear me now, correct? Perfect. And Jessica Roberts is also joining me. We've been working with the Town of Needham's engineering department for almost the past year to develop the project that is in front of the commission for your review and consideration. And so the Town of Needham is the applicant. And if can I share my screen for you? I'm sure most of you know where this is. Can you see my screen now? Perfect. I'm a majority of the area is forested. As much as possible, we use the existing limit of work or the existing disturbed area, as this project is within riverfront area, land bordering subject to flooding, the 100-year flood zone or the 1% annual chance of flooding, the 25-foot no disturb buffer, and the 100-foot no disturb buffer. I think I grabbed everything there. We prepared a fairly detailed application for your review with the narrative that breaks down all the square footage. The existing parking lot is to be reused and the limits aren't proposed to be expanded on. You can see that on sheet C002. Sorry, there's a bunch of square footages on here, but this was developed based on narrative and communication provided by Anthony Del Gazio, and the engineering department, and my understanding is Park and Recs is the one that requested the gravel access road. The gravel access road is a net cut. So because this is within the 100-year flood, this was designed so it would not negatively impact the floodplain within the Charles River. And sorry, the page just flipped. There is also a small turnaround at the closer towards the water. So somebody with a small vehicle can, turn their vehicle around as they drive down here to place their kayak in the water. This was designed, or the intent of this design was to allow for vehicle mounted boats, kayaks, canoes access to the water. It was not, the project's intent was not to allow, for like motorboats or any other access down here. The access path, if I can zoom in on my drawing, it follows generally the same path or the alignment of the existing trail. I'll call it a trail. It's about 8 feet wide. This is about 12 feet wide. There is no removal of large caliper trees within the proposed access road or gravel path. And I know the abutter brought up the concerns about the concrete pad at the end of the road. And in the narrative, there's an alternatives analysis of why it was determined that the concrete pad was most beneficial to the project. The goal is to reduce erosion in the area. If the commission does go down there, I was out there this morning. The area closest to the water does erode just through natural erosion, but this will allow a vehicle to get closer to the water, not get stuck, improve the stormwater quality of, as the rainwater goes down the roadway. And this area will get inundated. So we didn't want a constant maintenance or ongoing maintenance for the community to address, during high flows in the springtime for this area to erode out. And I should have mentioned from the very beginning, the edge of the ramp is outside the limits of the mean annual high water mark. So this does not have direct impacts into the limits of the Charles River. So it's more of a staging area versus a traditional boat ramp. And then I think Jessica's going to talk.
In the water, you mean? Is that what you just?
Correct. From the actual high water mark, it is outside the limits of the high water mark. But during high flows, there's the likelihood that it will be inundated because it's below its elevation, I believe 95, which is way up where I just drew this really dark blue line. And the water height today was somewhere around 87. So during, high flow springtime, water could be up here, real high storm water could be, the entire area could be inundated potentially. Jessica's going to talk about the waiver request in a second, but I'll address the abutters' concerns about the trash barrels. I understand the abutters, concerns about attracting animals. I think that's a legitimate concern. It was a request from the town to show those trash receptacles. I think it's, that's something that the commission can consider if that's a sticking point. I think it would be just a communication between the commission and the engineering department and Parks and Recs of, what best fits the need for the area.
Right, well, I think one of the questions was how often will it be maintained? So I can imagine if you have picnic tables, that a trash barrel is kind of nice to have so that it doesn't, people don't leave trash just on the ground, but is it going to be maintained regularly? And so that would be the question for the DPW. They must have a program with how often they maintain their barrels all over town.
Yeah, I can't really speak on their maintenance program, but it's something that we could easily address.
I think, yeah, just ask them. That would be helpful.
Jess, do you want to talk about the waiver requests?
Thank you. Would help if I unmuted before I started talking. Yes, I can definitely address our request for waiver from your 25-foot no disturb zone. One of the things that we have proposed for this project is consideration by the commission as a limited project, as a water dependent project for recreational access. We generally meet the performance standards for BLSF and for riverfront area. We've gone through and made sure that, for wildlife habitat evaluations under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, we're under the threshold for the 10-year floodplain, which is the portion that's significant to wildlife habitat. We are over 5,000 square feet of impacts within riverfront area, but we're in an area that is largely previously disturbed. But in terms of the 25-foot no disturb, we don't really meet the requirements for any of the project types that you would normally permit under your local bylaw. So we stepped through in section, 434 of the narrative. We stepped through your request for waiver form criteria. And if you'll excuse me, I'm going to refer to my copy here. But the first piece is we believe the project serves a substantial public interest. The demand for outside recreation has only increased over the past couple of years. And this project would serve the town of Needham residents, and we understand also the larger community. There are quite a number of pieces here to your waiver request that aren't applicable to this. It's not required for compliance with the MCP. It won't result in a severe economic hardship greater in magnitude than the public interest to be served. And we're not demonstrating or claiming that it doesn't protect public interest or wetland values. And we have prepared an alternatives analysis. We did look at what would happen if there were no recreational access improvements at this location, and a couple of different design options, one of which was a much larger concrete ramp at the end extending into the water. And we've gone back and determined really no practical use for that. Also more impact to resource areas. And then no required compensatory mitigation for work in floodplains, since we are proposing a net cut at each 1 foot elevation increment. There's a table in the notice of intent. And for riverfront area, we have limited vegetation removal. It's limited brush removal along the path. and mostly nuisance shrubs or weeds along the edge of the path, and some limited pruning, but as Dennis mentioned, no removal of large caliber trees. And we're proposing some plantings also within Riverfront in the area of the proposed gravel parking area. And, you know, I know Dennis touched on the gravel parking. The goal is to improve efficiency of loading and offloading in the gravel parking area, but also to make circulation a little bit easier. But we do have a planting plan on the project drawings for proposed plantings in that location. So that is the bulk of our waiver request. I'd be happy to answer any questions or get into a little bit more detail on pieces of this.
I'll start with the commission to see who has any questions. Artie?
On a number of things. I guess we're talking about the whole project, not just the waiver request, I believe. I think.
Oh, yeah, the whole project.
Yeah. So a couple of things. I'm certainly greatly concerned about a trash can being there. And these people should learn how to bring trash out with them, not leave it there. So I don't think we should train them to leave trash. I think it should be the opposite, especially in areas where it's, let's say, more out of the way. I think that's pretty clear. We wouldn't want to have a trash can in the middle of Ridgefield Reservation trails, for example. So I don't see doing that necessarily, personally myself. As far as, yeah, no, I mean, I know we want access, more access and more easy access. I'm not sure. I mean, so we're having a gravel road going down there. It's then a cement, well, landing, not exactly a boat landing, but a cement spot. So it's so you don't have further erosion right at the riverfront. It also looks like, you know, there's a turnaround, so people may park down. All of a sudden, maybe parking down there versus parking up the street. So a little concerned about that. I'm not sure where this is we're exactly out of our corners. But I'm just a little concerned about this particular area, all of a sudden making it, putting man-made stuff in this area versus we have other areas in town which need improvement, which have already been greatly disturbed. And I wouldn't call this an area of great disturbance. It's a path that people have been using to put their boats in the water. So I'm not sure. I mean, I understand if it's a version of that category, but I'm not sure if it fits in the category how we normally see it as far as this degree. You know, certainly some gravel going down there. It's rocks. It'll help keep it, I don't know, clean. I mean, I heard a comment about the cement helping the stormwater runoff or helping keep the stormwater runoff clean or something like that. And honestly, I'm not quite certain how that was going to occur with the cement. And I can appreciate having some gravel, and the gravel can be a way of mitigating the flow of the water, the cleanliness of the water as it's flowing down versus a straight pavement going down to the river. So I can see the gravel having some benefit in that regard, I suppose, and keeping the erosion down as well. But I'm just a little concerned about. I know the Park and Rec is asking for it. I wish they were here talking about it more. As far as really wide here.
Well, maybe they'll be
That's
here.
what I have right now.
They're gonna. Is that all of your comments at the moment?
Yeah, that's all I got right
Back to
now.
you. Stephen?
Yeah, I'm similar to Artie. I'm wondering why the path has to be widened to 12 feet. I think that's going to be an attractive nuisance for people. It may not be allowed, but I think if it's 12 feet wide, boy, it really seems nice and easy for somebody to back their trailer down this road onto a concrete ramp, which is partially going to be underwater some times of the year in the spring. Just makes it real attractive for somebody to back down there. And there's even a little turnaround down there. I think the maybe part of the town's motivation was for emergency access, but I don't think we've heard anything from the fire department or the police department about wanting or needing this access. So I'd like to hear from them that it's absolutely required, because I mean, I think you could make it easier for people to get down there, but if it was only like again, 6 or 8 feet wide, that's plenty of room for you to carry your canoe down there. And I think that's really all that we want to provide is a clear path for carrying a boat, not for backing a trailer down there.
Do you mind if I jump in? Sorry, halfway through. It's the engineering department's goal to get a vehicle down there so people can drive their vehicle down there and then drop so that somebody's not trying to carry their canoe or kayak down there. They would like to potentially, have better access so more people can use the area.
Again, I wonder what is that a benefit as far as, from a wetlands and the river standpoint, having vehicles closer to the water is always problematic with, oil and other drippings from cars and trailers and stuff. And so again, I just don't see why people just can't carry a canoe or a kayak down there. If you're out exercising, you should be able to carry your canoe or kayak down there. That shouldn't be a burden, I don't think. Like I said, you're just making it easy for people to drive down there. I'm not sure what the benefit, or if the benefit of that outweighs the potential impact of vehicles that close to the water. And then the second point is, the trash. I agree. I don't think we need a trash barrel there. And I would go so far as, why do we need picnic tables there? This is just access to the water. Do we want to promote having people lingering around and, having events down there, let's go down and hang out. And it seems like it's just a place to get to the water, get a boat in, get a boat out. I don't know why. It doesn't seem like we should be promoting people to hang out there. There are plenty of other parks, places for people to congregate. So those are my two main comments.
How long is the access road? Dennis, can you tell me how long that is, that gravel path?
We'll say like 130 feet for conversation.
Bill?
I'm curious to know if this project was reviewed from a access for disability issue, and is any of these dimensions and landings and turnarounds and van accessibility vetted by any disability commission or rules or regulations?
So from a accessibility standpoint, this would not meet a ADA like 2%, 5% access point. The parking area, the turnaround is graded at a 2% cross slope. So would be traditional like a 2% ADA parking stall. But it is, the goal of this was not strictly to meet an ADA requirement, if that answers your question.
Yeah, I guess the reason I'm asking is, do we expect to see another application come back when we hear that when an access has been provided, can it now be modified for access for disability? And does that mean changing grades? Does it mean different types of surfaces? And so I also want to make sure that our natural habitats, if possible, are accessible to disabled. So I mean, but for my role as a conservation agent, are we going to see a conservation commission member? Are we going to see another application come back when we hear from townspeople that it wasn't made accessible? That's really. And I agree with the trash. I don't think we need trash there as well. That's my only other comments. Thanks.
Peter?
I agree with everyone, and I just have two concerns. One is, and doesn't have to really be answered, I just wanted to put it out, is that how badly is this really needed? And that's number one. And number two, it really could attract many other kinds of activities, number two. That's how I feel. But I agree with everyone.
So what do you mean by other kinds of activities?
Young crowds.
Peter?
Yeah, so I guess I'm the only commissioner who has used this area as a picnic spot. And And I'm not sure if there's picnic tables there now, but I have had pleasant time with children and then a nice walk out to look at the river from that spot. So I think there has been a tradition over the past 20 years that I've lived here of using that particular spot as not just an access point, but as parkland and more general recreational uses. I don't remember there being a trash can there before. There have been picnic tables. I agree that there's a lot of erosion down there, and that erosion does seem to increase from year to year. So that part of the analysis, I think, is correct. I'm dubious as with my commission colleagues about the need for a turnaround, though. It just seems logistically to complicate the whole situation to have a car drive down there and have to drive back, and then are there other cars that are going to be waiting? Is there idling? It solves the problem if everyone just parks and drags or hauls their thing in. So I guess that would be my one comment. It seemed to work okay if it was a little wider and better maintained, as just a way to move your craft from the parking lot. So that's my comment.
And Allison has not arrived, is that true?
No, I don't think so.
So.
I
what
have one question if you want my comment. I'm just wondering if there's any concern with, when there is the high water in the spring of the gravel washing down into the stream itself.
So the detail, and you know what, I'll share my screen again. I'll go through this. We included a geotextile or 3 geotextile fabrics within the cross section of the access road.
Mm-hmm.
Apologize, this is loading really slowly, but it is basically to reduce the possibility of that material washing out. So I'm probably going to botch the dimensions, but 4 inches, then a geotextile, a triaxial geotextile grid, and then 4 inches of material, then another grid, and then the entire access road is also placed on top of a geotextile material. That's the final one is more for a settlement issue, but the other 2 are to help lock that gravel material together. Additionally, the potential is that that's likely not going to be in the velocity zone of the stream. The area closer, the river, the area closer to the river where we propose the concrete pad would more likely see higher velocities. And that was the thought process of putting the concrete pad closer to the river, knowing that there's the potential of the higher velocities in that area to help reduce this from eroding out.
Okay. Mean annual high water line is right at the river.
The mean annual high, yes. So this is just outside the mean annual high water line, which is, we'll for conversation say it's roughly elevation 88, 87. I know it's not based on elevation, but that's where that falls in this area. And if the 1% annual chance of flood is elevation 95, and I believe the 10-year flood elevation is elevation 90, which is within that concrete pad.
But you said it was so regularly in the spring, it comes up further into the gravel path area on a regular.
Let me look at the elevations, but I guess I don't have enough historic information to say how far up on elevation, but I can tell you the FEMA flood storms So it's going to the wrong page. But what I have a hard copy that
Yeah, that's no worries.
Do you have any photos of this area?
Clay has photos if they don't.
which area specifically? So yes, I do. This is actually from this morning. So this is standing in the parking lot looking down towards the river. This is the path.
Okay. So
Existing
that
path.
existing path looks like it's like 6 feet wide or so, and it's
Yep.
dirt with mulch or leaves or whatever.
Yeah, it's natural existing material. This is a little bit closer towards the river. And I was actually kind of documenting, I was more concerned about the trees this morning than other areas, but I do have other photos I can bring up. Is there a specific area you're looking for?
In general, just so that everybody that's watching and listening knows what we're talking about.
I have, I took photos today of the path headed down as well as the erosion down at the bottom of the river.
Okay.
And then Appendix D of the Notice of Intent submission has the photo log from the April, here we go. The April delineation. So this is kind of by the water access. You can see where the existing, so this is looking south where the existing access is. This is across the river where the existing access is. Looking the other way. So this is all based on the delineation, and then I believe we have some more photos in there, or I can bring them up.
Well, let Clay bring up with the ones he took. If you could
Okay.
take these down, that'd be fine. Thanks. You guys all shifted around. Artie, you must have been on early because Clay's usually always in that top corner. And now you're in that top corner. I'm like, wait, where's Clay? Sorry.
I've got an owl outside my window.
Wow, that's cool.
I know he's bugging me.
So this is the bottom of that path. You can see that it's got considerably more growth on either side down. This is pretty much just above the high water line of the river. And there's a rut that's essentially been created coming down at the end of the path. Somebody has propped a rock up there. So this is the end here. It goes down into the river, and it has created a little bit like a ravine there. This is standing just kind of above that point, looking back towards the parking lot. So the boulders are right there and there. One thing that I noted was that there was pretty extensive bittersweet vines growing up, especially on the left-hand side when looking back up from the river, to the point that it actually was overtaking some of the canopy in the area. It's just climbing up stuff. And then as kind of shown before, that's the river right there. So this is the extent of that path down, fairly open it towards the top. And then as you get further down, you get more of that kind of shrubbery on either side, as well as the bittersweet kind of taking up this whole area over here.
Anything else? Clay, you good?
I'm sorry, you were very quiet, Jen. What was that?
I'm sorry, do you have any more or are you all set?
I think that's the gist of it. I have quite a few, but I think they're pretty redundant beyond that.
Um, so I think what I heard is that there's many commission members that are concerned about trash. So maybe we can find out either more about that or figure out if we can get rid of it. Peter seemed enthusiastic about picnicking there, and so maybe that is something that is, I guess my concerns are really like, as Stephen was saying about the, like, why do we need to make this a wide path? I totally understand the idea of having a concrete ramp at the end and the stone for erosion control. But that path looks like a pretty good walking path as it stands. I mean, maybe make it a little bit wider, but like similar to the top, it could be consistent, but 12 feet seems, and being able to drive all the way down. I think we're gonna need more justification for that. So so the comments that I heard was about trash, about why have it so wide, why be able to turn around at the end. Now, it's so like, you know, if you were going to say that it was ADA compliant by turning around at, you know, driving at the end, then that's another conversation. But that's not what you were kind of talking about. So, but there's no tree removal, and you have provided a wildlife habitat, limited prunings, and you have some plantings. So those are good things. You have some erosion control. Is your floodplain, looking at it, I'm assuming that you have kind of taken the road or this path lower, so therefore you don't need compensatory flood storage because you're not filling any flood storage. All right, just confirming that I'm reading it correctly. So we would, I think, like to hear that the fire or police believe that this is a necessity. We would like to hear from Park and Rec on why they feel that this is a necessity. Is this something that the town of Needham, you know, put out? Like, I know that they have put out surveys, and that sometimes these surveys say more access to the Charles River and easy, whatever, like what was their reason for making this the way it is the way that you're proposing it? Because, and I'm even like making the parking area more defined. It seems like there's a pretty good parking area right now. Peter, you have something to add?
Yeah, I was reminded that this was a CPA project. And that I think I was on that in that group when this came up, and the funds for the planning process were made. So this has been a long time process, and I'm sure that this project, as planned here, came out of that sort of thing. So yes, I'd like to hear from Park and Rec. On the other hand, this does have a history of a priority for them.
Okay, that's how you know that, because it's CPA process. Yeah, so I guess it would be nice to have them come and give us their feedback as well, as maybe, and whether, I guess personally, I would prefer to see a letter from engineering and a letter from fire and police saying why they feel the need is there. But it would be nice if Park and Rec could come in person and give us their spiel in person. I don't think we need the engineering department or fire and police to show up to our hearing. And maybe others have a different opinion on that, but where we have to continue it in a way, we would like to have.
Janet, can I ask what questions or what information have we had in the past related to this like Park and Rec coming to the Conservation Commission saying, we're thinking of doing this. What are your thoughts? You know, what are you
I don't
looking at?
remember ever hearing anything about this one.
So,
Peter, do you still have another question, or do you just have to leave your hand up?
Oh, no, I must have toggled it 2 times. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
so I guess, I mean, there's an awful lot of energy or money or whatever, and I don't know how much was spent on something that we're looking at it going, why? Is this, what seems to be in
There
the
might
public?
be a very good reason why, and
Well,
I mean, I like
But they could have
kayaking.
asked us, they could have talked with us.
Is a great resource for the town, and being able to access it is a wonderful opportunity. And I see some, you know, we want to promote canoeing and kayaking in the Charles River and that resource. But putting a road down to it, where I don't know that that's.
I mean, it would seem to me in the public interest would be like, mow it down there, throw some gravel down there. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the erosion control, the geotech fabric, and preventing erosion from happening. So that definitely piece of it is a bonus. And maybe the only way to actually put a concrete ramp at the end is to drive a truck down there to do with it, and then you have your road. But see, like, things can grow back. And the other question was the bittersweet that Clay mentioned. Is there anything about invasives that we're trying to get rid of as part of this project? Anybody?
Do you want to grab that, or I can speak to it, Jess? It doesn't matter. We originally spoke with Clay and Deb. Is that correct? Okay. A couple months ago, and it was, you know, it is something that whoever constructs this, you know, whatever department inside of the town, if it's engineering or Parks and Rec, you know, we highly suggest pulling out as much of the invasives as you can. But so we are aware of it. You know, there's bittersweet. I think there was a few other species out there that we identified that should be removed as part of this construction process if it does move forward.
And long-term maintenance of that as well. I think that's something that the commission would be interested to make sure that if we're going to allow pretty significant disturbance, we want to make sure that the needs are managed, particularly if so I'm gonna, if the commission is okay, I'm gonna go to the audience. Does anybody in the commission want to say anything before we go to the audience? So Clay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak up?
Yep, there's currently one hand. I will move them over as a panelist, so it'll just take a moment so they can raise their concerns.
And just so I assume they can still hear me, just as they come on, they will want to give their name and address for the record. Is that Linda Asher?
Yeah, so you should be able to unmute and then you just state the record.
Okay, so I unfortunately had to join a meeting late because my husband had a medical procedure today. But our concern was, first of all, the river really goes up and down. He likes to kayak there. So part of, you know, it reaches different heights depending on the season and the water level. So if you have this concrete going down to the river, is it going to be an eyesore like we live on South Court, you know, as the seasons and the water level fluctuates? You may have addressed that, but that was our first concern.
Well, just so I can answer that while you're on it, what I heard from the applicant, from the applicant's engineer, is that the concrete pad is at the top of the mean high water line. So where the river typically is, it will not be in the water. However, there are times that the river is higher than the mean high water line, and at those times it will be under the water. But it won't be, I mean, there are times when the river dries up and it will be lower, correct? But it's not, I guess you could answer that maybe more, Dennis or Jessica, to talk about how often is the river lower than the high mean water line?
I mean, in Bob's experience, it is quite frequently, depending on the season. Like some days he can't even go under the bridge. I guess there's a bridge up there. I don't kayak. And other times it goes well. So that was, I guess, our first concern. And also, I mean, it's nice to have a path down, but you don't want it to attract, become like a launching pad for people to put other kinds of boats or for traffic to congregate there. And there isn't a lot of room there for cars. So I appreciate the attempt for it to be kept to scale. I mean, the picnic tables would be nice, but my concern is that people will dump their garbage on the ground and that could attract some of the animals over there, which are known to go along the river. So I guess those were our three concerns. And I think my husband Bob emailed someone somewhere to maybe express this more technically than I am able to, but he's not available tonight. So
No, we received his email and we read it into the record as an initial part of this presentation. So I should have read it in after they did their presentation, so maybe it would have been clearer what the concerns were. However, I read it at the very beginning, so it is on the record and we all have received his email. So it was very clearly written and helpful. Thank you. Do you have anything else?
do you have any, I mean, our main concern is, because, we've gone through this whole, project off of South Street, transmission project and everything else that, it would be wonderful for it to be a recreation area for the town. But again, you don't want, especially the way the road curves. I mean, it's not exactly the safest road in town, and a lot of people bicycle back and forth on that road. Although truthfully, I'm not particularly in favor of that, but that's the way it is. So, my concern is making the entrance and egress to easy to whip in and out of. I don't know how else to say it. So those are some of our concerns to continue the, the beauty of the area, create something for the public, but not overwhelm the space or the residents nearby.
Thank you. So keeping in mind, so some of her comments, as far as the ease, I do think, my understanding is that there's an existing area that cars park there. Are you making it easier so that people are going to drive in and out faster?
Right.
Could I answer those? Or
Yeah. Dennis, you can answer.
sure. I'll talk about how we got to where we are. Working with the engineering department, who was our main point of contact with developing all this. Their goal was not to increase the available parking at the site. So me being an engineer, most people want this existing site, maximize the parking, which based on the disturbed area right now, you could fit, if you designed it for maximum capacity, approximately 14 vehicles. What we're proposing in front of the commission is 4 stalls or 5 stalls. So the goal was to try to, strategically reduce the amount of vehicles that could park there by limiting the stalls to, keep traffic down. And to Miss Asher's point, the existing curb cuts, although they're not there anymore since they paved South Street, it looks like they put curb all the way down there, Cape Cod berm. They're using the existing berms or the existing curb cuts that are already there. So the goal was not to improve the access or allow people to get in and out of there any faster, but it was to use what was existing, what was out there right now, just to reduce the disturbance of the project and leave the existing trees. There's like 3 or 4 trees out there that somebody planted a couple of years ago in the vegetated area.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak up? Asher, do you have anything more to share?
And I did hear what you said about the 12 feet. And again, our concern was is that excessive and would it encourage people? Although truthfully, the water level goes up and down there, so I don't think you would want to put a motorboat in or something like that. But are you encouraging, different kinds of boat traffic? Or again, what would the aesthetic look like when it's, I'll call it low, I don't want to say tide, but low water, when you're kayaking on the river and you're looking at the space? Would it alter the natural beauty of kayaking along that space?
Well, I am in agreement that 12 feet wide is probably too wide, but they will, I think between engineering and fire and park and rec, they may have a better reason that is going to outweigh our interest in protecting. But we are here to protect the wetland, the resources, the Charles River, the habitat. So that's kind of our mission. Is there anybody else that you see, Clay, that would like to ask your question?
There are no other raised hands.
Anybody else in the commission? So, so I think the questions that are outstanding. Are basically determining about, I guess, getting comment back from Park and Rec, from engineering. Do you actually need to have it 12 feet wide? Do you need the turnaround at the end? How critical are those elements? How important is this trash barrel? And what else were there comments? Moving of invasive species we talked about. I have notes.
You had picnic tables. Is the concrete pad needed? And just general support from, how did we get here?
Area, how did we get here so that we understand? I mean, I can appreciate from the engineering and wetland scientist point of view why you have presented what you presented, but we want to hear from the town why they wanted to go here. So if everybody's set, we'll continue this to, I assume, October 28th. Is that, I mean, do you believe you'll be able to get in touch with all the various town agencies?
I'll try. I will let the commission know if we don't get enough feedback to provide you.
If necessary, but at the moment we will. I'm looking for a motion to continue. We need a file number also anyway, so you might as well not come back until you have one of those. For South Street and Dedham Ave boat access, continue to October 28th. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Have a second?
My second.
All in favor, Artie?
Aye. Jim, you're almost unhearable. Your
Yeah, I
audio-
can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Peter, can you hear me?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Did I get everybody? Steve, did I get you?
Aye.
Janet, aye. All right, so continue to the 28th. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. You guys have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry that I was quiet. I'll make it louder. Okay, next on the agenda is 130 Clark Road, DEP file number 234877. This is a notice of intent, and we have Eric Conrad.
Hello.
You can hear us, we can hear you.
Yep.
Victoria Conrad,
Hi.
John Rockwood.
Hello.
Hey, John.
Oh.
There's three of you. Okay. Great. You who's going to do the presentation and tell us about this project?
Oh, I'll get started and then I'll bring the Conrads in as necessary. For the record, my name is Dr. John Rockwood. I'm a principal environmental scientist with Ecotech. The Conrads are the owners and the applicants relative to this particular project. I was contacted in April and went out to the property and noted that some woody vegetation proximate to the stream had been removed. I suggested that they contact Deb and address sort of the violation associated with the removal of the, I guess it's light woods with a entirely invasive understory. I've been on the site before. I permitted the house in 2011. So I know what the pre-existing conditions were in that particular area. It was, again, lightly wooded with about 5 different species of invasive shrubs and myrtle as the ground cover in that particular area. When I went out there, the saplings, mainly American plum and the invasive shrubs in that area had been removed, and it was a lot of ground cover species, largely invasive, coming in that area. There's some garlic mustard, myrtle, and some other things in there. And basically, the original house was built in about 2011, 2012. And as part of that, there was a mitigation area in that back area within a clearing. And some of those shrubs either went away through the intervening decade or were removed as part of the woody material removal process that occurred here. There were a couple of dogwoods there and a couple of the saplings there that were still in really good shape. To the back of the house, there were 4 saplings that were planted within lawn. All of those were in really good shape. Do you want me to share a plan, or does Clay or Debbie want to bring up the plan and then we can talk to the plan?
As a preference. John, if you want to bring it up, it's fine. Or Clay, are you in the process of doing it?
John, if you have it ready, feel free.
Okay. Just never brought up a plan in this before, so I don't particularly know how.
Oh.
I have it here. I can pull it up.
Okay. I don't know. I did my first live meeting in a year and a half last night, and it was a completely different experience.
Yeah, it is definitely a different experience.
Definitely, it's like, okay, how do you do this? But basically, we met with Deb on the site in April and discussed some of the issues. And her concern at the time was that we included plantings to make up for the number of mitigation plantings that were lost or that were there at the time. Again, most of the stuff that was there, other than the mitigation plantings, is invasive. It's privet, honeysuckle, multiflora rose, Japanese barberry, and myrtle. Those are the basic species that made up the.
There's quite a bit of garlic mustard as well.
The garlic mustards come in since the area has been cleared.
Yeah.
And that's, again, part of what we're proposing, why we're proposing what we're proposing. So the notice of intent was filed to prepare a restoration plan and also to provide some amenities for the existing house, including a shed, a patio extension with a fire pit, and lawn expansion and restoration of some of the existing lawn. And as part of this, we're sort of proposing to swap some existing lawn within the 25 to expand the lawn into the disturbed 50-foot zone as part of that. But I'll go through that as we go through the process. So basically, the restoration in this area, on the plan, you can see sort of 5 clusters within the area. And what each of those consists of are 2 1.5-inch caliper saplings and 8 shrubs. And what we're proposing to do in this area, there's a note on the plan, we propose to install the erosion control barriers as shown on the plan. Given the existing density of the herbaceous invasives in the area and the propagules that exist within that area, and the nature of the soils in that area, which are particularly stony, would propose to remove 4 to 6 inches of soil from within that area to get rid of the invasives and the propagules, put 4 to 6 inches of new high-quality loamy topsoil back in the area, plant the plant clusters as shown, and then seed the areas between the plant clusters with a mixture of a couple of native seed mixes to promote wildlife utilization of the area. The area that's outside the erosion control would propose, it's largely a lot of shrubs of Japanese barberry. That would be a cut and blot to get rid of that. Also, as part of this, there's bittersweet growing up along the trees along the wetland boundary. Those are proposed to be cut and blotted at the base, and efforts would be made to get as much of the vine out of the tree as possible without impacting the trees. And also to prune some of the deadwood out of the trees, because those trees are now sort of the edge and they're now exposed, and you want the trees to be as healthy as possible. So that's sort of the restoration plan. There's a couple, 3 or 4 notes on the plan that go through that. It's also described in the narrative. The parts of the project that relate to the accessory uses of the single family house. Number 1 is the installation of a shed down in the lower central portion of the plan. It's an 85 square foot shed that would be on blocks. There'd be a fence that would be installed to clearly demarcate the portion of the site that's supposed to be natural and the portion of the site that is developed. There's a perennial border proposed on the developed side of that fence. There's a proposed patio expansion outside of the 25-foot buffer with a fire pit. There'd also be a gas line that would be excavated and cut in along the edge of the existing patio that would lead to the fire pit. I don't know, to the top of the plan, there's a couple of existing propane tanks above the retaining wall that's shown there to the top of the house. The line would run from one of those tanks to the fire pit. And again, the existing lawn area would be top dressed and hydro-seeded, and the area that would be proposed to be extended as lawn would be loamed and seeded, hydro-seeded as lawn. We're proposing to remove 6 trees. 2 or 3 of them are Norway maples. I think there's 1 black cherry down at the bottom of the plan. And they're proposing to extend the existing arborvitae and rhododendron hedge with a series of, I think, 11 eastern red cedar large shrub saplings, which are native species that can develop to be tree size. Again, part of the swap for the expanded lawn is to give back some lawn that's in the 25. That area is shown at the top of the plan, and we're proposing to plant 15 shade-tolerant shrubs beneath the mitigation saplings that were planted as part of the 2011 project. And we can put 3 bounds with markers to demarcate that area to differentiate between, again, the developed part of the site and the undeveloped part of the site. So again, we're proposing a fence, and we can have bounds in this particular area to clearly demarcate what's going on relative to where they should do things and where they shouldn't do things on this particular property. Unfortunately, when the property was sold to them, they weren't made aware of, you know, the wetlands issues on the site. Unfortunately, the mitigation area wasn't bounded. In the past decade, you know, consultants and commissions have done a lot better job of requiring fences, bounds, markers, and whatever to prevent or minimize these kinds of things from happening. And I think that's what I have. The end result here is we'll have an improved 25-foot buffer zone compared to the existing, and quite honestly, compared to the pre-existing condition in this area, relative to species diversity, the removal of the invasives, better substrate and habitat along the stream, removal of the invasives on the ground cover, as well as the vines within the trees, which are causing some pretty serious problems within those trees back there. I don't know if Eric or Victoria want to add anything to this at this point.
Yeah, just briefly, kind of, first of all, I'd like to apologize for any of the work that was done that wasn't approved by the Conservation Commission. As John said, we honestly weren't aware of it, but now that we know what was approved in 2012, we understand that was out of compliance with this commission. When we bought the house a year and a half ago, that back area was really pretty much a disaster. So we've been trying to do what we can, but understanding now, the bounds that we have based off of what was approved in 2012. I think the plan that we put together with the guidance of John is really strong, both in terms of restoring the wetland area, but also giving us some additional usable space back there for our children and for our family. So, just appreciate your guys' time. And obviously, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask me.
I'll have the commission members give their comments. Artie, do you want me to start with you?
Sure. I heard some mention about trading off some leaving some grass in the 25-foot zone for something else going on somewhere else. Could I have that be clarified, what's going on there?
You might need the plan back.
If you look
Do
at
you have a good way to mark or to show where, or can you move your cursor so you can show Artie what we were talking
I
about?
don't know
with
if
the-
we'll see his cursor. I don't think we'll see it.
you don't see
Oh,
his
yeah. Oh,
cursor?
yeah.
Little hand?
Oh, cool. Nice.
if you look on the plan, you can sort of in the middle of the area, there's a line that says approved edge of lawn per DEP file number 2340634. It's sort of in the middle. That's sort of the existing lawn line. That's the lawn line that was approved in 2011. It goes up, it goes into the back restoration area a little bit, and then it cuts across to the, I'm just going to call it to the north of the house toward the top of the plan.
Okay.
The 50-foot buffer here, although it's been altered, we sort of consider it as a naturally vegetated area because under pre-existing conditions, it was naturally vegetated, even though it was vegetated almost exclusively, at least in the understory, with invasives. So as
John, can you point, while I'm really caring, what I'm caring about is, or just what I want to clarify, excuse me, that's a better way of looking at it, is where are we talking about? So normally we have a no-go zone or go-no-go zone, 25 foot, that's it, go-no-go.
Yep.
So it sounds like you're talking about you'd like us to go, but trade off for something else. Could you point to the areas, the ones that you want to keep, then you want to trade?
okay,
That's
well,
what it sounds like.
okay, we're restoring the entire 25-foot buffer zone within the area that was disturbed. The area to the north of the house, I'm just going to say it's to the north with the LBs, sort of the trapezoidal shape up there. That's existing lawn within the 25-foot zone that we're going to plant some additional shrubs within. And then we're going to put some bounds against that and indicate that that's an area that's not to be lawn anymore. That's going to be renaturalized as with the 4 existing saplings and the 15 shrubs we're proposing.
Okay.
So that's what we're giving back. There's also some lawn within the restoration area within the 25-foot zone.
Well, let's be clear. I want to be clear in terminology. You're not giving it back. It shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Well, it's awfully existing lawn.
Well, okay.
It was approved in the last order.
It was
or
approved.
It was
Okay.
approved that they could leave lawn in the 25.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
lawn-
So I stand corrected, John. Thanks, Doug.
lawn that existed in the 25 in 2010 when the property was originally delineated before the house was built.
Okay.
So that's why that approved edge of lawn is really the pre-existing lawn line from like 2010. Because there was an existing house here that was torn down and then this house was built.
Okay.
What we're doing is we're renaturalizing lawn within the 25. And what we're doing is we're expanding the lawn into the 50. To sort of make the area more usable for the family moving forward. So the area within the 25 is somewhat more important to the stream and the wetlands than the areas that's somewhat further away. That was the rationale behind sort of the design choice.
Well, that's enough for me right now. I'll probably come back later. Thanks, Jim.
Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Stephen, you have anything to add?
No comments.
Sure.
Yeah, so lost my train of thought. So I, like Artie, was a little concerned about the swap. And I understand. So the area that you're looking to turn into lawn is not within the 25, but is in the 50, within the 50, but was naturally vegetated. And so that's the reason we have to talk about it as a swap. Even though, as you said, it's not naturally vegetated with a capital N, I guess. It's mostly invasives. I guess I don't have a huge problem with the swap. I think with all these projects where things are supposed to be naturally vegetated and people plant shrubs, I just want to make sure, and you've done a good job of bounding around the 25. I just want to make sure that people really don't touch the area with the shrubs, that landscapers are kept out of that area, that leaves are not removed, and because I've seen other projects where the shrubs do fine, but landscapers have removed every other shred of organic matter from the area. So I guess that's my only concern, that the homeowners understand that. But beside that, I really think that the substrate, particularly in the restoration area, is going to make a huge difference in making that work again.
Again,
And Peter, they are proposing a fence along most of the 25-foot buffer.
Yeah,
And
no,
So,
and we're also willing to put the commission markers at intervals
Mhm.
along the fence as well.
yeah.
Bill, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't, but I just wanted to thank the homeowner for the attention to detail in John's plan. I think it's very comprehensive, well thought out, and obviously we don't like this order, but I appreciate the response. Thank you.
Sue, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, it is a well thought out plan. A few things were mentioned. I just found out, it's hard to tell on the plan. I guess the fence is going in along the 25-foot buffer. Is it right outside the buffer?
It's just outside the 25-foot buffer, and it's elevated off the ground surface to allow small animals to move underneath it. It's only a 4-foot fence, so larger animals won't even know it exists. They'll just move through, like, deer won't even know a 4-foot fence exists.
Okay, and removal of 6 trees was mentioned. I just can't say, I'm not quite sure which buffer. Which buffer the 6 trees were.
2 of them are located within the 50-foot, and 4 of them are located sort of along the property line in sort of a little bit of a brushy area right at the property line. And I think 4 of those trees are Norway maples.
Yeah, I actually, Clay has some photos if anyone wants to see them. And those are Norway maples. There is a sapling or smaller tree that's a red maple, but the majority are Norway.
And a couple of other quick questions. John, you mentioned a fire pit, and I saw on the plan there's a proposed shed, and it looks like a proposed deck. Was that? Just wondering where it's hard to tell in the plannings with which buffer. I mean, I know it's not the 25-foot, but I'm just curious exactly where it was located.
The shed's within the 50-foot. The fire pit is just outside of the 25 within the existing lawn. The patio expansion is just the semicircular area. It's just that semicircle. The patio exists, and the fire pit is going to be half in the existing patio and half in the expansion. That is just outside the 25, and that's within existing lawn.
Okay. What was the shed that was on there?
Well, this is a proposed shed. It's just a wooden structure that's going to be on block supported.
In the 50-foot?
In the 50-foot, it's about 27 feet from the wetland, at the closest point. It's just outside the fence.
Okay. No more questions. Thank you.
Okay. Did I get everybody? I have a couple of questions. The fence that is surrounding the new mitigated area to the west side, why can the fence be on the house side closer to the fire pit of that mitigated area instead of around the back of it to make sure that the landscapers stay out of it, as Peter commented about?
Eric, is that something that's acceptable?
So are you saying like where the expanded patio is going to be, that being a straight line instead of a diagonal? I'm sorry, I might have misunderstood.
Clay, I guess bring up the plan again.
What you'd have is the two lines along the bottom of the area shown on the plan, the fence. You'd have the gate at the front, and then the fence wouldn't go around that area. It would come on the house side of that area. So you'd actually, yeah, like the red line. So you'd have less fence. It'd actually be cheaper to install. And it makes it so the landscapers will stay out of that area and protect it.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with that.
That's something that can be conditioned.
So it essentially protect the area that we're kind of swapping, quote unquote. All right, that's fine.
Okay, so these trees, of these 6 trees, you said 4 of them are Norway maples and the other 2?
One is a black cherry. The 12-inch deciduous is a black cherry. Yeah, that one. Yep. And I don't know which of the other ones. Deb said there was a red maple.
So do they?
Yeah, the smallest one in that area of the 3 to be removed, or the smallest diameter is red maple.
Maybe this.
So it's like a 6-inch diameter.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those, yeah.
I need Allison to kind of confirm that makes sense to take away those. I understand the Norway maples, but I don't know about the other 2. Okay, my next question is, why does this compost sock go zigzaggy like this? What's this about?
Which at the back, we're trying to stay away from the bigger trees. That's all. It could be. We'll put it in the field as it needs to be. We're just showing it on the plan.
Okay, I was just confused. It was just ziggy zaggy, and I was.
Dodging.
And Clay, can you make this plan come down a little bit so I can see the text that's up here? Yeah. So perfect. So when you say, oh no, that's not what it says. Where's this text? It says, oh yeah, to remove. Yeah, removing this 4 inches.
Yep.
What's going to happen to that soil once you remove it?
It's going to be removed from the site. The landscaper that does it will take it and remove it from the site.
Does when soil like that, and I don't know the answer to this, when soil has, invasive species or something like that in it, do you have to, do anything special to it? Do you have to like admit that it's, I don't know, I'm not sure.
It's not hazardous waste, if that's what it's.
Not hazardous waste, but it is like, I wouldn't want it to be sent into the Needham landfill, but there's nothing really stopping it from that. So, because it just makes all those invasives go all over the place. So I didn't know if is there a rule about invasive species?
I don't know that in particular there's a rule on disposal of soil that has invasive species propagules in it.
I don't know either. I was just trying to figure it out. So, okay, so if you're willing to ship that fence, that makes me more comfortable. And so we used to, or we still do, we have a regulation that basically says to maintain the 50-foot when it's a wooded area. So I'm assuming that's why it was naturally wooded originally in 2010, and that's why the lawn went there. But our goal now is to hold the 25-foot as much as possible. And I guess we take it back. The plantings are great. It's too bad that we've lost that natural habitat that we had, but I guess we'll get some of it back.
Well, unfortunately, the natural habitat that existed was a few, scrappy native saplings like plums and that kind of stuff, with a whole bunch of invasive shrubs underneath it. And we're going to get rid of those the invasive shrubs are gone. We're going to get rid of the invasive shrubs that are sort of around the perimeter of this area. There's a lot of Japanese barberry out there. Deb probably saw that when she was out there, particularly down in that southwestern corner, for lack of a better, because I don't know what the direction is, but outside the compost sock area down there in the back. So when we get rid of that and we get rid of the honeysuckle and the multiflora rose and the bittersweet along the wetland line, it's going to be a much better place than it was and is.
Anybody else? So I guess you could take this down, Clay. Thank you. Any commission members have any other comments? I'll go to the audience. Clay, do you see anybody in the audience?
There are no raised hands in the audience.
Anybody
Would
have
you
any
like to
comments?
see any photos by any chance?
Would be great. We would love to see photos.
And again, we're proposing a 2-year monitoring for this, for both the plantings as well as the invasives. So the commission will be, updated next fall and the following fall, or for 2 growing seasons after the work is done.
Yeah, well, that's important.
Yep.
So that's showing the trees to be removed. They have ribbons around them.
Yellow flag in the center is the Norway maple. The one right behind it is the black cherry. The trees off to the right won't be removed. The trees to the left side, there's a couple there that will be removed. But everything to the right of the 2 trees in the center of the picture will stay in terms of trees.
So is the house behind us?
Yeah. Go ahead, Clay.
What kind of trees are those
Which?
that are staying?
Those are Norway maple. Oh, sorry.
Oaks and maples. Red maples and northern red oaks out there.
Are they on this plan?
The tree locations are shown, yes.
Okay.
They have the size, there's basically a tree symbol and a size next to it. They're not identical species.
Yep. Okay, thanks. And
So that's where they're gonna do that expansion of the patio.
That wall that's there stays just the way it is. Right.
Yeah, there's your Japanese barberry, John.
Yep, that's out in that back corner. So you can see the bittersweet growing through there, and you can see the density of the barberry out there. So that's basically a cut and blot. And Japanese barberry dies very well when it's cut and blotted with glyphosate. It's a very effective treatment for it.
I think that's kind of the area where the shed's gonna go.
Well, that's looking at, I think that's largely the neighbor's property. The shed is sort of where you're standing taking the picture. I think
Okay,
that's looking through onto the neighbor's property.
so that's where you're gonna want to remove to add the arborvitae.
Well, that's where we're removing the stuff to put in the eastern red cedar.
Yep,
So the arborvitae that are there are going to stay, but we're going to continue that hedge with the native species instead of the arborvitae.
sorry. Yeah,
Let's see, like what is that symbol on this plan?
Which symbol?
The eastern, didn't you say eastern red cedar or something?
It's JV, a circle with a JV in it.
Oh, is that junipers? That's the same thing?
Yep.
Ah.
Juniperus virginiana. The landscapers like to use Latin. I like to talk English.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
Mm,
Okay. And this is, are we good? All right, anybody else have anything to add? Those pictures were very helpful, actually, for me anyway.
so is the patio pervious that's being added?
I believe it's the same as what's there. The existing house has a sizable stormwater system associated with it. There's a total of, between the shed and the patio, there's 183 square feet of additional hard surface, I guess. So the water from the shed's going to roll off the shed roof and infiltrate around the shed into the vegetation. At the patio, I assume it's going to be blocks very similar to what's there, but the existing patio is already collected and goes into the stormwater system as part of the original design. So it's a rather de minimis increase in the impervious surface on the site compared to the existing condition.
I'm glad to hear that the existing house is already being managed. In 2010, we probably were making sure that was happening.
Oh.
There's a big system out behind the house.
It's good for you. It's good. Helpful. Any other comments, questions? Are we okay with the swap of the lawn into the mitigated area? And do we need any additional information, or are we ready to close this hearing?
So will we get a revised plan showing the fence changes?
If you would like that, we can provide a revised plan relatively quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Because we could condition it, but then you might not end up with the fence where you
Right.
want it.
So I'll talk to Joe Porter, who put the plan together. We'll revise that and we'll get it to you electronically as soon as we can, and we'll get you 2 copies so you can reference a revised plan in the order.
Thank you.
No
Sounds good.
So we can close the hearing and we can prepare our order of conditions, but it won't be released until the revised plan is submitted to Deb. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, it does.
So if we're ready to close the hearing, I will take a motion.
Move that we close the hearing for, I forget the address.
Deb.
130 Clark Road,
What was that again? Sorry.
130 Clark Road.
130 Clark Road.
Have a DP file number 234877.
What you said.
I was like, am I really that quiet? Okay, so you made a motion to close the hearing. Can I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Artie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Lou,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
aye. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you time.
Thank you, everybody, for your time tonight.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is 10 Winfield Street. I thought it was Winfield. I thought there was an extra I in there. No, Winfield. DEP file number 234852. It's a request for a certificate of compliance. And I believe Diane is here and Bob Roach. Can you hear me? I see Bob Roach.
Yeah.
Did you unmute? Diane, are you good to go?
I am.
All right. Okay, so Bob, you want, or maybe we'll have Deb do her presentation first and you can answer any questions. Maybe that's what we should do. Deb, you ready?
Yeah.
I am ready. So this was a tear down and rebuild. There wasn't any tree removal for the project. But they did propose plantings, which have been installed. Hold on one sec. So the only deviations that were noted, the planting area was actually a bit larger than proposed. They had proposed 16 shrubs and 6 trees, and they actually planted 4 extra shrubs. They came back to us for a minor modification. There was kind of a shrubby invasive area in the back right corner of the property. And they came to us to remove Norway maple, mulberry, and some oriental bittersweet, which was approved. And they installed, I think it was 3 river birch and some additional shrubs. They also put up the fence, which essentially blocks them off from the stream. There is a gap at the bottom, around a 6-inch gap for wildlife movement. The recharge system was reconfigured. It was two pits of 2 to 4 pits of 1, according to the letter from the surveyor. Overall, I think it looks really good. There are pictures if you are interested, but I do suggest a complete certificate of compliance. There was no monitoring requirement for the plantings.
Bob, you have anything to add?
Are you asking me?
If you have anything to add, you don't have to, but if you want to add anything.
No, I agree with everything she's saying with Deb.
Okay.
It's a beautiful.
Commission members, any comments? Artie?
None.
Stephen?
No comment.
Peter?
No comment.
Bill?
No comment.
Sue?
No comment.
Yeah, I'm good. So, if Deb, you are recommending that we issue the certificate of compliance? So
Yeah.
I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 10 Winfield Street, DEP file number 234852.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, Artie,
Aye.
Peter?
Hi,
Aye.
Thank you, Bill
Aye.
and Sue.
Hi.
Janet, aye. Great, thank you very much.
Might I ask that I get a letter or some kind of confirmation of this approval? I have a closing tomorrow and both attorneys are very concerned with this approval. They'd like to have a record of it somehow, anyhow.
So the commission needs to sign the document.
I understand that.
Yeah.
If we can get any kind of letter saying it has been, email saying it has been approved. My closing is tomorrow at 10 a.m.
It's up to you guys, Janet.
Oh, so if, Deb, do you mind sending a letter saying that at tonight's hearing, we approved the certificate of compliance, but it will not be, formally issued until we get all the signatures on it?
I can.
That would be super helpful. I really do appreciate that.
Sure. So the document, once it's signed, needs to be recorded. Do you want us to send that to you or to Field Resources to record?
I would send that to me.
Okay.
But if you could send me an email tonight or early tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., those lawyers want to have some kind of confirmation. And I've explained to them the situation. And they've insisted that they need something, anything in writing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
So is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
You have my email. I know you do. Oakcrest
Thank
Build.
you. Yep.
Right. All right, super. I thank you all for your help.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Okay, we have on the agenda 26 George Agate Road, DP file number 234820, request for certificate of compliance. Eric Backstrom?
Yes.
And you can hear us and we can hear
Yep.
you, and you are the only one here to talk about this. Okay, so Clay, were you involved with this?
Yep, so we received the request for certificate of compliance. Eric had essentially kind of compiled the information himself, and the information once compiled included a statement from the engineer stating that all the footprints and overhangs were as depicted on the proposed plans. This project was a small addition to the existing garage, which is attached to the single family home, as well as a porch. And if you recall, last summer, they were before us because the stormwater system that they were going to put in just for the additional areas, they didn't have a suitable place to put it. Once they did the test pit mid-project, there was there wasn't enough separation from groundwater. So they did end up getting a permit to tie into the town system just for the additions. I believe the existing gutters remained. It was just for the additional footprint that it was addressed. In that request, we did receive the confirmation from Sean Harrington, who was our water superintendent at the time, for that tie-in. And then the as-built plan was a plan that was provided on one of the building department forms. When I went out to check the site today, I confirmed that the construction had been done as depicted on the plans and as stated by the engineer. The deviation was listed in Eric's letter that the stormwater system never went in. And for this project, there was no removal of vegetation. So there was no replanting or conditions to replant or any kind of vegetation. It was a fairly minor project in a nutshell. If there's anything that you wanted to add, Eric, I think that's all that I have.
No, you summed it up perfectly. My wife did not consider it fairly minor, doing renovations in the middle of a pandemic. But no, you captured the scope pretty well.
Staff at this time do recommend the issuance of a complete COC, just with the recommendation that we request a full-scale plan for our records. Just the final as-built, if Field Resources has that as-built plan in larger form, that would be useful for our closeout. But the staff recommendation would be to issue, pending receipt of a plan.
Anybody in the commission have any comments or questions? Do we have anybody in the audience anymore?
I believe we have at least 1 or 2 people in the audience still. There's no hand.
I should have asked if anybody had any comments on that last project. Does anybody have any comments on this project?
There's been no hands,
Okay.
not that I've seen.
Okay. So any commission members, any comments? So if there's nothing else, then I will take a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 26 George Agate Road, DP file number 234820.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Sue. All in favor? Artie, Stephen,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Great, thank you very much. It takes a little bit of time because we all have to sign it, but we will get it to you soon.
I appreciate that. And quick question on the full-scale plan for the as-built. And Clay and I had corresponded earlier today. I don't have anything other than the PDF that I had included in the request for certificate of compliance. We'll go and get the right size plan for you guys. Are you looking for quarter scale, 8 scale? Is there a standard that you're particularly interested in?
Look at the drawing, it probably has a scale on it and it should be printed to that scale. Like it might say 40 scale on it or 20 scale or something.
Okay.
So it probably, they might have given you a little PDF that you print 8.5 by 11, but it should be end up getting printed out at a just larger piece of paper. Whatever the scale is, it's maybe it's.
Yeah, it should match the proposed plan that was originally the plan of record, but I will coordinate with you tomorrow with what it is specifically to get from Field Resources.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I only ask this because it may end up being the case. If the plan is not generated by Field Resources, does that pose a problem for you guys? Like if we ultimately have somebody else come out and do an as-built survey, does that create any issues for closing paperwork?
No.
It should not create any issue as long as it's still the same site conditions as it is right now. So
yeah, well, we'd get it stamped and signed as if anybody else were doing it. So yep. Okay, great. I appreciate that.
Anything else? We're all good. All right. So anything else from the audience? Any other questions? Anybody have anything? Doug, Clay, you guys are good? I'll take, so we had a successful fair thing that we did. The Sue, and we were at Deb had her beautiful.
Oh, the harvest fair.
Harvest fair. We had lots of people talk to us about invasive species.
I couldn't find the table.
Saw you walk by us. No worries.
You did?
You were going fast.
You saw me? Where was the table?
It was near
Near Rocket.
We're right next to the police. We're at the end next to the police.
They had all the town departments in one place.
Okay.
That's all right. I saw you going fast by me. No worries. Okay, so if we're all good, we'll take a motion.
No,
Oh, we're not good?
well, are we
Oh,
issuing?
we have to
clause-
do the conditions. We have to do an order of conditions.
Yeah,
right.
so unfortunately I had computer problems, so I'm on my phone, so I can't put up the conditions, but I have the special conditions that I would like to discuss with you.
Okay.
Okay, so we would have our usual 2-year monitoring. We would require the markers to be placed along the fence to demarcate that. I think John should be on site during the earthwork within the 25-foot buffer zone. You know, because it is so close to the wetland. A special condition for the excavated soil to be removed from the site and disposed of properly.
Ask a question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But
No.
What did they remove that they weren't supposed to remove?
So there were mitigation plantings put in there from their previous order.
When
And,
did they remove them? It looked like everything was grown in those pictures.
well, it was trees mainly, like saplings that they removed. But so the ground cover did come back in.
That's in 2010? I mean, they were 10
Yeah,
years.
but it was these new owners that removed it. So, so essentially they added more plantings to cover the ones that were removed as part of that mitigation. Let's see, what I didn't get and should have asked was when they were planning on doing this work. You know, because if they're going to be doing it now, you know, we're almost, you know, past the point where they can actually install plantings. So I'll ask John when they're planning on doing that. Because we don't want them to be removing dirt, adding dirt and trying to stabilize, you know, past the growing
Right.
season. Sorry?
That was nice. Was that your son?
Oh, did you see him? Yeah, he just kind of walks by and hugs me whenever he feels like it. Yes, that was my son. You may have seen the dog earlier, who was also visiting me. So those were the main, so we're not going to be doing the bounds any longer, it sounds like, because they're going to be doing the fencing along that area. So.
And they could, I mean, should they put those markers on the fence? Did we do
Yeah.
that?
That's what we're doing. So that's one of the conditions as well.
Okay.
Let's see. So that's what I had. If anyone has anything they want to add.
What about the waivers? Did I miss anything?
No, you didn't.
Yeah, we have to vote to grant a waiver to work in the 25-foot no disturb zone. We do that before we issue the order of conditions.
Right.
And then we also have to decide if we're gonna give
They didn't ask us to waive it, and because this could have been an enforcement, because it is a violation.
Yeah.
I would suggest that we keep the $1,000 waiver fee, but yes, Sue, you're correct. We do need to vote to approve the work in the 25-foot.
Okay. Anything else? So yeah, the monitoring and the fence and the plaque things were my thoughts.
Yep, and the excavated soil should be removed.
Well, yeah, they said it should be removed on the plan, so that's written on the plan that it should be removed and taken off site.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think John should be on site when they're doing the earthwork in the 25-foot.
Yep, That's fine. That's good.
What
Okay.
stream is it there? What stream is it?
Well, I think
I'm-
it's an intermittent stream,
Okay,
so I don't think it's a named stream.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there isn't anything for us to read. We're just having this discussion.
Yeah, normally I would have the conditions up,
Yeah.
but long story.
Yeah, I do like, I know we're trying other systems, but it's hard to just talk about it. So we might have to go back to having the orders in front of us, because it's hard to just talk about them.
Okay.
And in my mind, maybe others don't mind talking about them. I like to see it and feel like it's okay. All right, so, but if we're good,
You like to ask Peter if he's read it.
I'd like to ask Peter if he's read it. I do like to do that.
Yeah,
like
you
to
And I,
ask if he's
and I
read it.
love to read it.
I
All
know
right.
you like to read it.
All right, my experiment failed, but yeah.
Great. Okay, so are we ready to issue a order of conditions as discussed?
So first you need the waiver.
I move that we issue a waiver for work within the 25-foot buffer zone for 130 Clark Road.
Have a second? You guys are tough tonight, huh?
Yeah.
Second,
Thank you, Bill. All right, so, okay, we issued the waiver, but we don't even have to talk about the filing fee because we just are not.
They
waiving.
didn't request it, so.
We did that. Okay, so now are we ready to issue the order of conditions as discussed?
Do we vote on the waiver motion first?
Oh, I thought we did, sorry.
Just
All
ask.
right, okay, who's in favor? Peter, Artie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Bill,
aye.
and Stephen.
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Okay, now did we do it? Now can we move on to the next thing?
I move that we approve the order of conditions for 130 Clark Road.
Have a
Second,
second? Thank you,
Second.
Bill. All in favor, Artie,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Sue.
Aye.
Bill,
aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
yeah, aye. Great. Anything else?
I just wanted to double check, make sure nobody wants to do the MACC conference next week. Clay and I are signed up, but we didn't hear from anybody else. So,
No, I'm not gonna do this one.
Can't do it.
okay. All righty.
Motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn?
Have a second?
Third.
All
Aye.
right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everyone.
Aye.
Good night.
Thanks,
Night.
thanks. Thanks,
Thanks.
Dennis. Take care.
Aye, guys.